TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
All right, Matt, we are back with another polka. And let me tell you, when we started this show, I never in a million years imagined how many people would want to specifically discuss polkas on this podcast. But it has become the thing that people fight for the most. We've got a return guest this week, Mark Hampton, here to talk about Polka Your Eyes Out, the first L polka of the 90s. Although this polka is pretty 80s centric for a large chunk of it still.
Well, it's definitely right at that spot, right? Where it's like early 90s might as well be the 80s, especially in the context of this polka.
And a few quick things about it. This was one of the last, if not the last song to be recorded for the album Off the Deep End. And Al had already performed this melody live before the album was released on Comedy Central Presents the Dr. Demento 20-year anniversary special. He showed up and performed this live on television, pretty much as it appears on the album. I don't believe that there was any additional songs or anything that made it in there.
It's exactly the same. I have great news, listeners. This exists on YouTube. You can look it up, and there's the full like studio quality, but live on a stage version of them doing this entire polka, and it is glorious.
It's so good.
It's so like he's got a full we talked about this at one point because I caught it a few episodes ago, but he has a full horn section behind him doing all the brass parts. His band it is just excellent to see the amount of you really can appreciate, I think, so much more when you watch them do this live, just how insanely complicated and challenging it is to do something like this. Not only to both to write it and to perform it is just so incredibly manic, and the amount of talent and focus and attention of everyone, because the transitions are so quick. Everything happens so fast.
It's insane. And Mark, why did you pick this specific polka as the one that you really wanted to talk about?
Well, this is my first polka. It's also the first Weird Al song I ever heard. In fact,
wow.
I was going to say, you marked this down as this was your number one.
This was my number one. In fact, most of the songs that he parodies in the song, in Polka Your Eyes Out, it was my first introduction to those songs as well, because my parents would make us listen to adult contemporary albums and stuff like that. So I didn't get to hear the cool music. So I was like, "Ooh, these songs are awesome!" And I was, to be perfectly honest, I was kind of disappointed when I would actually hear the real song. I'm like, "Yeah, Weird Al's is better." So that's why. And to this day, I still have it memorized.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good one. This is definitely one of the ones I've listened to the most of all the Al polkas. And I agree with you. This is one of those ones where I'll just find myself singing random parts of it when I hear the song on the radio the Al voice, the nasally Al voice. Kind of unique to an Al polka. This one starts with the actual opening of Cradle of Love by Billy Idol. It's a trick that he's done a couple other times, but I believe this is the first time we hear it. Am
I think you're right about that. I think this is the first time a polka opens with something that is not obviously polka music.
Hey! Rock the cradle of love. Rock the cradle of love. Yes, the cradle of love. Don't rock easy, it's true. Rock the cradle of love. I rock the cradle of love. Yes, the cradle of love. Don't rock easy, it's true.
You hear this song start, and it is it sounds like just as if they hit play on Billy Idol's Cradle of Love.
And then that right into the polka. Fantastic. I wrote down, as the Cradle of Love segment is happening, Jim West is just ripping up that banjo in the background as the song intensifies.
As he always does, man. I mean, I hope that Jim West has as much fun playing the banjo as we have talking about it.
Oh my God.
Because every single time he's there, it's like he is just could not be playing any faster, that thing. He is just beating the absolute hell out of it.
Absolutely. And this is probably the last time we'll talk about Billy Idol, because I believe this was his last big hit as well, correct? Cradle of Love was kind of the tail end of Billy Idol.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I'm actually just double checking. Yeah, this is it.
Because then he put out Cyberpunk like a couple years later, and that pretty much killed his entire career at that point.
Yeah, no. So Al has done. He did his parody of Moni Moni. Definitely a Billy Idol fan, but this is it. It's the love affair is over. But goes out with a great little start here with the again, I love starting with that. I don't know why that feels so like impressive and different to me. It's like some new terrain he's hitting on a polka with that intro that goes into it so quickly.
It's immediately followed by the DNA version of Tom's Diner featuring Suzanne Vega with just a quick with a nice little bass drum kicking in, and then the gang vocals on the deeper gang vocals the second time that the dude hits. Perfection.
For people who don't know, just because I feel like this might be slightly lost to time, if you are not familiar with the song Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega, it's incredible. And it's one of those songs really that is like, how in the world did this become a hit song? There's a remix of it that also did really well, but Tom's Diner is basically an a cappella track where she is just singing this. Like it's so incredibly sparse and minimal. It's beautiful. And again, that melody, that do 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 is so ingrained in people now. I feel like that's one of those things like she wrote that. That's from that song. It feels like it's one of those melodies that feels like it's always existed, but that's hers.
It's true.
Like, it's
the dawn of
from
time.
That song. It's incredible. Like it's one of those things that's like, it's hard to imagine. I always think about something like even the guitar lick to Satisfaction. Like there's moments in music where you're just like, it's hard to imagine someone had to write that, because it just feels like it's part of DNA, that it's existed since forever. And it's like, oh no, someone actually had to pick up an instrument and come up with that at one point in time. It's crazy.
It's interesting to think about, because the original version of this came out in 1987. And I was wondering about this because I'm like, why is it listed as DNA featuring? But it's because the original Suzanne Vega one came out in 1987. It did not chart in the United States when it came out. The DNA remix came out in 1990, which is the perfect time period that we're speaking about when Al's doing this. And that peaked at 5 on the Billboard Hot 100.
The remix was the thing that wound up being huge. Yeah, it's one of those crazy, like they heard potential in it that I think the average listener just could not hear, because again, the original Suzanne Vega track could not be a more sparse folk song if you tried.
And then they just kind of put like a little bit of like a synthy some extra stuff into it. It's not like over the top. It's not
the
like
core of the song is the same.
Just add a little synth.
Exactly.
It'll be good.
Exactly. Yeah. It reminds me of I don't know how many of you would know the there's a song called Brimful of Asha by a group called Corner Shop.
Love them.
That it's a very like super cute like DIY like pop song, and it got remixed by Fatboy Slim and became an enormous hit. Yeah. And he didn't even change that much. He just put a slightly more like up-tempo beat on it, sped it up a little bit, and gave these guys like this huge hit song. I love there's no better use of like a DJ remix than hearing potential in something that got missed the first time and then reintroducing it to people in a way that's more palatable. And in a way, funny enough, that's a part of what Al is doing with these polkas as well, of just like, hey, if you missed this the first time, let's do it one more time.
Yeah. And that doo-doo goes right into Love Shack. It's great.
The Love Shack is a little old place where we can get together. Love Shack, baby. Love Shack, baby, Love Shack. Hey!
Breakneck speed, he is flying through these songs.
Very quick. I was also going to say, funny enough, the previous polka we talked about was the Hot Rocks polka, where he does all Stones tracks, and we made a point to say that in the Hot Rocks polka, he was really taking his time and doing
he
like
lingers
a
on
full
those songs.
verse and chorus of all these Rolling Stone songs. And at the top of this one right away, it's like, ooh, he is moving very, very fast. I did a quick count, and he does, in the Hot Rocks Polka, he does 12 songs. There's 12 songs that Stone songs that he references over the span of 4 minutes and 50 seconds. In this polka, he does 15 songs in the span of 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Wow.
So he is really ripping through these.
It's actually less than I thought. I would have thought it like covered 30. That's
I know,
how
right? Yeah.
fast he goes through.
15
He's
songs
just
covered here.
Cycling through these at rapid speed, and then he gets to something that he hasn't done in a very long time, but very briefly, he does the clarinet polka, which is an authentic traditional polka song that he just kind of pops in there to connect Love Shack and to pump up the jam a little bit.
Pump up the jam! Pump up the jam! Pump up the jam! Pump it up!
The clarinet polka, written by someone named A.
Humpfat.
Guys, I promise it's not a joke. This band's name is Humpfat. Humpfat. A. Humpfat. I checked it out. If you look up the original The Clarinet Polka, you're going to immediately recognize the line that Al uses here. I genuinely love the fact that Al likes to throw in these little homages to traditional accordion music, which is clearly what he grew up playing on the accordion. Like, I love that he squeezes that stuff in. It's so it makes it feel all the more like a labor of love to me, and like an appreciation of just all. One of the things I love in these polkas is you never get a sense of snark. He's never doing any of this in a way that's like, it's just joy. Like, all of this is just wonderful to him, and he's celebrating all of these songs and throwing in traditional polkas to connect Love Shack to pump up the jam. It's just like the best possible way to put it all in one place and be like, isn't this all just so wonderful, you know?
Well, and then the smoothness in which he gets from Pump Up the Jam into Losing My Religion is like incredible.
Jam, pump it up! That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Losing my religion. Trying to keep a view. And I don't know if I can do it. Oh no! I said too much. I haven't said enough.
Well, that like pump up the jam, now pump it up. That's me in the corner. Like, and the instrumentation with the horns behind him on Losing My Religion is phenomenal. And then the gang vocals come back for the oh no, I've said too much. Like, it is so good. And that, like, I would say if there was one word I could use to describe this polka over all of the other polkas that we've discussed, is the word smooth. The transitions from one song into the next just feel, as we've said before, as we were saying earlier, Mark, I can't like not sing along with this. It flows so seamlessly into like, haven't said enough, the things you say. It's like,
I mean, there's even a lyrical connection there. That I haven't said enough, the things you say. Like, he's actually like, the amount of thought and care and pure talent that it takes to make something like this. I feel like I say the same thing on every polka, but I need to keep saying it because he gets better at these every single time.
91 Donkey Lane is a magical apartment complex that contains immense power but lacks intelligent inhabitants.
What is happening?
I'm getting texts.
Why are we getting a lot of texts?
People found out what we did.
Oh, dividing Mike Myers into an infinite amount of tiny Mike Myers?
Listen to 91 Donkey Lane for free on Spotify or your favorite podcasting app. More at 91donkeylane.com. See you there, you donkeys.
The things you say, your purple pro just gives you away. The things you say, you're unbelievable.
The skill that it takes to do this, like, it's so wild to me. Also, before we move on, because it is a very quick one again, although funny enough, we need to acknowledge, once again, Al is a massive REM fan.
REM fan.
REM is one of the
third
most,
REM appearance.
It's one of the most represented bands in his entire catalog.
His catalog.
He loves to bring up REM. And funny enough, it's the first song of this entire bunch that he sits on for a nice little while there. He does a verse and a chorus of this song. He takes his time with it because he's really enjoying doing it. A random little side note about Losing My Religion that someone pointed out to me very recently, I just wanted to address here. If you ever, this is one of those amazing songwriting things. Look at the lyrics to Losing My Religion on a page, and you can even hear it in Al's delivery. There is not a single rhyme in that song.
Yeah.
Losing My Religion is written like just a poem on a page. And REM make it seem like this completely normal, reasonable pop song just because of the way they deliver it. That is another one of those against all odds hits for me. It blows my mind. I would just recommend.
Wow.
Again,
I'm singing
I
this
think,
song in my head, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. There's not
yeah,
a rhyme to be found in that song.
no, there's no. It's just a poem, no rhyme structure at all. It's crazy. And because we've established that Weird Al is a huge fan, I feel very comfortable telling you all, just listen to Losing My Religion again and think about that and think about how great they are. Great band. Great band.
Actually, you know what? Just listen to all of Out of Time. It's a great album.
Well, and
You know
the
what, just
thing
turn
about,
off this podcast and just start listening to REM songs. It's completely.
Well, and the lyrics of that song are absolutely gorgeous, but they get you with the little guitar, the beep beep doo beep doo,
Yes.
whatever mandolin, whatever he's playing.
That's right. Yeah, that little lead line. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's a incredibly well written song. But again, I just love. Again, I'm projecting, I'm guessing, whatever it is. But anytime I see Al hit a song in a polka that he just lingers on for a little bit longer than the rest, I was like, yeah, he really likes this one. He just really wanted to spend some time
what you're
with this
saying?
track.
What you're saying is he might not like EMF that much. Where
Maybe. I mean, he got to the point with EMF fairly quickly.
Yeah,
We all get it. We didn't need to get into the verses of Unbelievable.
No.
They were not the lyrical maestros that REM were. That's for sure.
So I want to talk about this in a very weird way. So he, Unbelievable has this very iconic, that's a sample of Andrew Dice Clay that plays at the end of the Unbelievable part.
Yeah.
So you have you're unbelievable. And then the music starts playing Unbelievable. It's da 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 da. But in the song, he changes it mid riff into the Do Me Baby riff because it goes bump 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 ba da ba da.
Do me baby, oh, do me baby. You can do me in the morning, you can do me in the night, you can do me when you wanna do me.
The smoothness in this,
incredibly smooth. He also does it using, again, to hit some music dorky language. He plays the Unbelievable riff and then does a chromatic walk up to the start of Do Me, which is usually, it's like a little bit out of key. It means he's hitting notes that are not in the key of the song because he is bridging a really weirdly sized gap there from the key of one song to the key of the next. Again, I have to just acknowledge all of these insane moves that he makes. Like that that's 2 seconds of music max, where he is able to get the Unbelievable riff in and then do this crazy, unusual chromatic walk to get to the start of Do Me. Insane. Again, so smooth against all odds. Smooth.
And I mean, it's just ramping up at this point because that goes right into the Do Me Baby, which I believe this is definitely one where I knew Al singing Do Me Baby way before I knew the Belle Biv DeVoe original.
Do we agree this has to be the most forgotten song in this parody?
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree because
what's the most forgotten?
I still don't think I've actually heard Miss You Much by Janet Jackson in my life.
Oh, so that's interesting to me because I definitely know Miss You Much.
That's on Rhythm Nation, right?
That's on Rhythm Nation, yeah.
Christopher Fives is screaming right now at his computer that I don't remember this Janet Jackson song, but I genuinely don't think I've ever listened to Miss You Much. I should listen to Miss You Much. It's
a good song.
Yeah.
I mean, Janet Jackson's great, but yeah, they do the yodeling connects us right into Enter Sandman.
Exit light, enter night, take my hand, off to Never Neverland.
Probably the most impossible of the jumps, right?
Yeah.
Is bridged by this perfect throw of a yodel to get into that Enter Sandman. And the instrumentation in this is crazy as well, with like they're playing the little like coconuts or whatever it is, like this is full Spike Jonze madness at this point. Like,
the horns on Enter Sandman are just incredible.
Yeah,
those like the big trumpet parts that you hear in that like are just it's just so good.
Yeah,
better than
definitely
Al's version is better. I'm saying it right now.
All right,
that's definitely one of the songs where I heard Al's polka version first before I heard the actual Metallica song because I was too young.
Me too.
Yeah, I definitely knew.
Yeah.
This was one of the few that I did know for Metallica at this time because my cousin, who gave me his Weird Al records that he didn't want anymore, was also a massive Metallica fan. So I grew up listening. Whenever I was around him, he was listening to Metallica. But you get that Off to the Neverland, and I guess it's like a cowbell or whatever he's hitting. There's something that's doing that dun 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 underneath him, and then you get this horn part that leads perfectly into this bass groove to take us into the Humpty Dance.
The Humpty Dance is your chance to do the hump. Do me, baby. Do the Humpty Hump. Do the Humpty Hump. Do me, baby. Do the Humpty Hump. Come on and do the Humpty Hump.
Which I think we're going to jump into the future. I think he uses that same trick to get into Last Night by the Strokes in a later song.
So one of his go-to polka moves, and one of my favorite go-to polka moves, is the jazz breakdown.
Yep.
He does not do it every time, but when he does, it is such a treat. And yes, he will usually do like a walk up while slowing down. So like da 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 da, and then the drum beat changes, and then you get the walking bass line.
The Humpty Dance is your chance to do the hump. Which again, like the Humpty Dance Do Me Baby tying into Do Me Baby from Belle Biv DeVoe. Like
he is actually connecting dots now in the middle of another, like we've talked before about the little like connections of he did it on Hot Rocks Polka where he put the Miss You ooze into Sympathy for the Devil. Like putting those side by side was super smart because those actually really, you could hear the similarity between them. And he does it again here. Yeah, that you get a little bit of extra do me in the do the Humpty Hump.
Do me, baby.
do the Humpty Hump. So good.
And I think, I don't know if it's my favorite version. We always say there's at least one song that sounds better as a polka than the original song. You're going with Enter Sandman on this. Cherry Pie is a good contender on there as well.
She's my cherry pie, put a smile on your face, 10 miles wide, looks so good, make a grown man cry, sweet cherry pie, woo! Drum solo!
With the she's my cherry pie, bop, like the little like the accents of the horns throughout Cherry Pie is fantastic. Yes. And then leads to that crazy drum solo just in the middle of the song, completely breaking all of the polka and jazziness. And similarly to starting with Cradle of Love, we are like reminded that, you know, we are in the heart of like 80s hair metal right now. So here's a very indulgent drum solo. That's also not an impressive drum solo.
Not particularly impressive.
I was impressed.
He goes back to a trick that we talked about being a one-off, but it does pop up here again, the fake live crowd.
Yep.
Where you hear the audience in the background applauding the drum solo. Which he does on the other Billy Idol parody we did. No, I love a fake live song.
Yeah. The drum solo gets us right into the snare rolls, and then we go right into Miss You Much, and it's back into a nice polka again.
I miss you much. Oh, I miss you much. I really miss you much. I-S-S you much. I miss you much. Oh, I miss you much. I really miss you much. Hey!
The backup vocals.
So you don't know Miss You Much. That's so
I really
crazy.
don't think I do. I'm sure if I listened to it, I'd be like, oh, I know this song.
You've heard it. There's no possible way to have escaped hearing that song for the last 35 years.
That's how I feel too. Like I'm surprised
Unless
you
it's
don't
just
even
that
recognize
anytime I hear
'cause-
it, my brain just goes right into Al singing it, and I like somehow white noise that it's Janet Jackson. I'm like,
I first heard that song on Good Morning America with Joan London. My mom was watching it in the kitchen. I was like, oh, okay, what up, Janet?
Yeah, it was a big track. I mean, and it's funny because
huge.
it's not even that different because hers is that same, like, it's a herky-jerky dance thing. I miss you much. Like, it's like he's really hitting the same. He's not changing it that much.
No, he isn't.
but this leads right into what I think is the song that sounds the best as a polka with Touch Myself.
Hey, I don't want anybody else. When I think about you, I touch myself. Oh, I don't want anybody else. Oh no, oh no, oh no, no, no.
It is a strong contender.
Oh,
The whole structure of this, the I don't want anybody else. When I think about you, I touch myself. Whoa, like, which again, it's from the second he hits Do Me, honestly, with the exception of Enter Sandman, it's all very sexual songs to a certain point. Because it's Do Me, Humpty Dance, Cherry Pie, Miss You Much, I Touch Myself, and Dr. Feelgood. Like, all in a cluster.
This was about the time that my beehole would clench up in the car listening to this tape with my parents in there going, oh, is this when they're going to tell me I can't listen to this song anymore? Is this going to be it? It never happened because my mom loved the song as much as I did, but I was always like, oh, this is dicey.
And then
it's so funny because we've said this before, but it's almost like it feels very childlike to me of Al, because as we know, Al's generally very, very clean in what he does. And I always feel like he loves the polka is just an excuse for him to sing something he wouldn't otherwise sing.
I think
the number of times he inserts something that's just like, I just cannot accept. I'm sure that some part of him is like, I really like, when else am I going to get the excuse to sing I Touch Myself?
So I think that part of the humor is that there's a line in Scrubs where the great Sam Lloyd, R.I.P., playing Ted the lawyer, has a line where he says, people don't like to think of me as a sexual being. and I think that there's an element of that with Al. Like, he knows that there is no one who is like deeply fantasizing about Al touching himself. Yes. So like the giddiness of like, really, not only is he singing this song, similarly to Losing My Religion, he's giving it a pretty good chunk of the song.
Yeah,
to sing
right,
this.
Also, polka, and I love it.
It's
but
so
it's
unsexy.
the least sexual of all the musical forms.
It's a toss-up between that and circus organ music. Like,
it's true, or a triangle player. It'd be 50-50 right there. And so the fact that he takes all these sexual songs and makes them part of his polka and sings them with gusto.
Oh, he loves it.
Gusto here.
No, and don't get me wrong. Like, the comedic tilt is right there, and of course that's a huge part of it. It is really funny and so satisfying to hear him do that stuff. But I'm a part of me, I guess, likes to believe that it's also him being like, oh, I can. This is again, when am I going to get the chance to sing these lyrics in one of my songs? It's never going to happen. This is my shot to really to do I Touch Myself, or to do Relax, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, like any of these songs. They're just like he'll never do that in any other context. So yeah.
And then again, just to compliment the smoothness of this, the oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 he's the one they call Dr. Like,
no, he's the one they call Dr. Feelgood. He's the one that makes you feel alright. He's the one they call Dr. Feelgood. He's gonna be your Frankenstein. Let's kick it.
You get that deep bassy "Be Your Frankenstein." Let's kick it right in.
That turnaround is the best.
It's unbelievable the ways that he is just jumping from song to song in a way that just like there's never a moment in this polka where that feels like it's an unearned transition.
No. That of all the transitions in this one, I think that has to be my favorite. The "He's gonna be your Frankenstein." Let's kick it.
If you get a problem, I'll solve it. Check out the beat while the DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Word to your mother. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby, forever. I'll be your
and then goes right into Ice Ice Baby with, again, watch that live version and give props to Steve J. That is maybe literally as fast as that bass line is playable by a human.
Yeah.
The speed that they are doing the Ice Ice Baby, like that is
If you got a problem,
way
I'll solve
too
it. Check out the
fast.
people. The DJ resolves it.
Way too
and,
fast.
And that's
they
another
nail it.
one. And that's another one where he really takes it out of the polka entirely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like there's like no polka music playing until he gets to the chorus. Like when he does the "if you got a problem, I'll solve it. Check out the beat while the DJ revolves it." That's just Al doing a straight cover, just a faster cover of Ice Ice Baby.
A very, very fast version of Ice Ice Baby.
This also has my favorite moment in this song, and maybe my favorite Al moment, all when he shouts out, "Word to your mother!"
I know. I was
That
just
to
gonna
me
say
was
that, too.
perfection.
It's so good. It's like a great, like, I don't know. It's so appropriate in its inappropriateness, and I also feel like it's making a little bit, again, funny. I was just talking about how like joyful it is. All of this stuff. I think it's poking a little bit of fun in Vanilla Ice, which this song was a huge hit, but also instantly a joke.
Yeah,
instantly a joke. Well, and this album came out not long after Ice Ice Baby
to the
came
extreme.
out.
Yeah. When he did this, it must have been at maximum popularity. You know, like when they were making this. Polka, it must have been.
I remember
absolutely
it. I
enormous.
remember that it absolutely was.
Yeah.
I may have bought both albums at the same time.
Yeah.
Like coconut music.
And he always knows. We talk about this time and time again. He always knows the song that's going to lead to the perfect closing, and it's like, "I'll be your eyes, eyes, baby, ice, ice, baby, ice, ice, baby."
Yeah.
Hey!
Like, it's so good. It's so impressive. Look, I'm just gonna say it. This is my number one polka right now. This is jumping to the top of the list. This is an easy win. It is, and one where I'm like, man, he does have like 3 or 4 heavy hitters that are coming up in future albums, but I don't know. I have to challenge myself now that like when we get to Bohemian Polka or when we get to alternative polka, which are also these polkas that I think are great, that I'm like, all right, you've got to listen to polka. I feel like I have to listen to whatever my number one polka is immediately after to see where I fall on those, because they're all just, you said it before, Matt, he keeps getting better every time. At this point, it is just impressive. And I want to do a shout out very quickly to a group that people in the comedy scene, I think, know Hard and Firm, Mike Furman and Chris Hardwick's country band. There is a brilliant song that you can find on YouTube that they did, which was, I've heard Chris Hardwick say, was genuinely an homage to Weird Al's polkas, called Radiohead, where he did what Al does with the polkas with all Radiohead songs in a bluegrass style. And
wow,
it is,
I had no idea. Wow.
It is insane to listen to. Similarly, the master, like art, like that masterful way of just jumping from song to song in a seamless way, using bits and pieces of other songs to be your connective tissue into one thing or the other. I've tried this once before, just playing like an acoustic guitar, and it is fucking hard. Like this takes a lot of work to make it flow and work.
I know I said this in a very old previous polka, but this is like, I have had this conversation with like fellow musicians and songwriters talking about Al. And it is a recurring theme where everyone knows Al and knows what he does at this point. And the polkas people always bring up as like, if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't even begin to wrap my head around doing this. Because it is just so, like, the amount of complexity and the amount of attention to detail that goes into the whole thing. Like, even just assembling the songs in the first place and deciding what you're going to, like, it's so not the normal path of, I don't know. I think it's just, Al's genius brained. That's all there is to it.
That's the only thing we can say. Now, Matt, where would you put this? Are you also putting this at your number one?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's going to number one. It's funny because I'm looking at my list and I put Hot Rocks Polka at number 2 the last time. And even then, a small part of me wanted to put that at number 1. But Polka Party just has like more of a sweet spot for me. I don't know, but I still strongly believe at this point in time we are at the phase where you could make the case that Al's polkas should be ranked in the order they came out, because they just keep getting better with every single one. You can really hear him getting better and better and better at the feat of doing this.
Yeah. Now, our rankings were kind of boring. We praised this song all over
Sorry
the
for
place,
being
and then we
boring,
tossed
guys.
it. We just tossed it at number 1. Mark, you get the way more exciting job of looking at the chaos that is the guest rankings up until this point, and you get to put Polka Your Eyes Out anywhere on those rankings.
Oh, anywhere, like with all of the songs. For me, Polka Your Eyes Out is number 1.
All right,
I
you're
love
popping that.
it.
You're putting it over Smells Like Nirvana. Now you get to do one other thing. Don't stop looking at that list.
Okay, I'm looking.
You can take any song that's on that list and move it anywhere on the list you want. If you think a song is way too high or way too low, you can maneuver it. One song.
Interesting. All right, give me 2 seconds here. Off the top of my head, I'd move Lost on Jeopardy down. I've never really liked that song. Money for Nothing, Beverly Hillbillies, I'd move way up. I love Money for Nothing. I think Smells Like Nirvana and Eat It are perfectly situated.
Okay.
I would go Polka Your Eyes Out, Smells Like Nirvana, Eat It for sure. Yoda's in a good place too. Trigger Happy, I might move down a little bit. I like Trigger Happy, but it's not my favorite. These are pretty good though. Like a Surgeon is great. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely move Money for Nothing up. Maybe like right below Eat It. I think that's
right below. Wow. All right.
Yeah,
I
love
love
that
it.
one.
Money for Nothing, Beverly Hillbillies, asterisk is number 4 suddenly on our guest rankings. Now, Matt, I believe that there's a place where people can see the full guest rankings, but for those who are curious right now, our top 5 are number 5, You Make Me, number 4, Money for Nothing / Beverly Hillbillies asterisk, number 3, Eat It, number 2, Smells Like Nirvana, and number 1, Polka Your Eyes Out, while the bottom area is from best to worst, Let Me Be Your Hog, Girls Just Want to Have Lunch, Don't Wear Those Shoes, It's Still Billy Joel to Me, and Living with a Hernia at the very bottom. But Matt, if people want to see where all of the guest rankings have landed, is there a good spot for them to check that out?
There's an amazing spot where they can check them out, and it's at weirdalgorithmpodcast.com, where we have all of our rankings updated every Friday along with the new episode drops. And you can keep up with us, and you can send us emails just screaming at us for our bad takes on all of these songs. I love that I'm always intrigued, Mark, and I love that you were like, for a minute there, you were debating whether or not you wanted to move something you liked up or something you didn't like as much down. And I'm always fascinated by there's some people who just come in here and they're like, take that one, move it to the bottom. And then, or like, take that one, move it to the top. And it's always interesting to me, like what someone wants to like push theirs up or down. I love that. I like that you moved, Money for Nothing up. That's it's also interesting the ones that move a lot. That one moves a lot. Like the number of times have been like, oh, that's too low, and then someone else comes on, they're like, why is it that high?
Like that is I have a feeling someone's going to come and reverse almost both of Mark's placements. I think someone's going to be Someone's going to be like, this polka's the number 1 Al song. Get out of here. Like,
it's great. It's great.
I have a mission. I have a call to action though for our listeners. Now, those of you who don't know, you weird algorithm heads are some of the best listeners in the world. A lot of you guys treat our show like a first thing in the morning on Friday listen. And because of that, I have a call to action for you. If you woke up this morning, December 8th, and you listened to Polka Your Eyes Out, the first thing you woke up, here's what I want you to do. Log on to YouTube, look up Geekscape TV, and just enjoy the 24-hour charity live stream that's happening right now to raise money for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northern and Central New Jersey. Matt and I will be there in some capacity. There'll probably be a weird algorithm somewhere in some capacity. Mark, you'll probably show up in something on there, I'm sure. And definitely your married now wife, because I believe you were still engaged when you were last on the show.
I probably was.
Will almost definitely show up somewhere in there as well. It is a celebration of love, kindness, Geekscape and generosity, which is what I
Yes.
hope that you take away from the Weird Algorithm podcast as well. A show of love, kindness, and generosity. Mark, so thank you
Unless
so
we're
much.
talking about the Brady Bunch.
Unless it's the Brady Bunch, dear Lord. Mark, you know, it's a nice wintry December. Is there anything happening in the life of Mark Hampton that you can talk about?
Yes, I can talk about it. And it's interesting because I'm hoping that once this project I'm about to tell you about is complete, that I'll be able to go on to all the Geekscape podcasts and promote it, because I am starting my novel on Monday. This coming Monday. The TV show I work for is going on hiatus, so I'm going to have about 2.5 to 3 months to just sit down and work. It's my novel, so it's not covered under the AMPTP or the WGA.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm going to self-publish it. I already have a plan in motion and everything like that. So it's just so I'll be doing that, and it's a fantasy western. So it is a little steampunk action, very much a fantasy world, but it does take place in the American West of the 1800s, but there's magic and things like that. So I'm very excited to finally put pen to paper on this sucker and
that's very
get going
exciting.
on it.
I got some exciting news. I got a couple ins with some of the Geekscape shows, so we'll definitely make sure that you get on a couple of them.
I was going to go use my wife, but if I can use your thing, that's great too.
We got you. We got you.
We got you covered,
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
And
Thank you.
you know, I never want this episode to end, but I'm only kidding. Next week, tune in for more Weird Algorithm.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.